Nagtungo ako at ang aking team sa himpilan ng LTFRB dito sa Pampanga upang kumustahin ang mga kaganapan.
Well, we're doing very fine. As you very well know, when President Duterte assumed in 2016, LTFRB was identified as one of the 4 most corrupt government agencies in the Philippines. But now we are proud to say that the LTFRB is a new agency which has been completely reformed and reoriented so that now we deliver utmost service to the people with competence and with integrity.
Natanong ko rin kung ano ang pinaka-challenge ng LTFRB ngayon sa kanilang sanggunian.
Okay. There are challenges, of course, with LTFRB now, particularly with the modernization program that we are about to implement.
That's
so,
right.
Can you mention some challenges, or should I say, a big problem that we are encountering for this particular modernization?
Well, first of all, I think one of the big problems you're facing is the paradigm shift, no? Because apparently
As well.
that's right, because apparently when change is there, a lot of people resist it.
Yes.
Because it is not within their comfort zone. So when you translate this in the public transportation industry, this could mean that, for instance, a lot of operators and drivers are hesitant, and in fact many of them oppose entirely the public utility vehicle modernization program. These are caused by several factors. Number one, for instance, they're not ready to give up the conveniences of operating their existing units, which are unfortunately already rebuked by the public because these are pollutants.
Model particularly, you were able to declare the review as well?
Well, as of now, we're still renewing them. But 2 years from now, entirely all of them will not be anymore allowed to run on the streets. Because we are introducing already, I think you've seen in other parts of the country, the modern public utility jeepneys, which are, for instance, running already in Metro Manila. No? Among others, the features of these modern PUJs are, number one, they have GPS, they have CCTV, they have cameras.
No?
But there's an option of air conditioned or regular. And then the doors are curbside already in order for the people to be safe. And of course, when you go inside, you can stand up. No?
Okay. Just
Hindi
like
na
a
ito
bus.
dati yung nakayuko-yuko ka.
Bus siya talaga. Parang
ganyan.
minibus siya.
Yes, exactly. So, these are the many things which are already being introduced. And a lot of people now, the passengers especially in the routes, which already use these modern units, are quite happy with it.
Is it PWD friendly?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it has a ramp that actually opens like that.
Okay.
So, the wheelchairs can go up.
In other countries, they're gonna be the same.
Nabanggit din niya ang modernisasyon ng mga programa at proyekto nito.
Well, particularly for Region 3, we have already declared open some missionary routes. These are the new routes where these modern PUJs will already be deployed. No? But as of now, the applications are there already. The routes have been opened, but we are still waiting for the delivery of the units themselves. So there is quite a heavy order of such units coming here from the Philippines.
So, these are manufactured
Yes, in the country.
in our country.
That's right.
Okay. That's a very good news. So, importation will not be a problem in our case.
Well, some of them are also imported, but not here in Region 3. As far as I know, they will all be sourced out from local suppliers, or at least companies that are already located in the Philippines.
Okay, that's a good news as well. How about you mentioned earlier about the acceptance of the people. Do you think what are the reason, or what are the ways and means of the government in order to convince these people to adopt the modernization that we are proposing for them?
Well, first of all, we want them to form themselves into cooperatives or corporations so that they will be more competitive. Because, nowadays, if you're alone, if you're a solo, single unit operator, you cannot compete up against new players like cooperatives and corporations. And so in order for you to be able to measure up to what is being required in the present environment, then perhaps you should look for other similar operators like you. You band yourselves together into a cooperative or a corporation, so that together with all your pooled resources, that will make it easier for you to be able to apply for loans, for instance, with the banks. No? Because the banks are more likely to grant the loans to cooperatives rather than individuals. Because apparently there's also the issue of capacity to pay back and all that. No? And they also have to make a feasibility study before granting the loan. So that's one of the things that we want to emphasize with the drivers and the operators, that if they group themselves together, then they will be in a better position to compete and play in this new scheme of things.
So individual, we're discouraging individual application, or we can as well accommodate what if hindi sila makapag-organize?
Well, first of all, may mga individual din naman na mga mayayaman din, no?
Okay.
But yung minimum kasi ngayon, because one of the requirements of the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program is fleet management. So therefore, each operator must have at least 10 units each. And it's quite difficult for any single individual to be able to come up with enough capital in order to field 10 of these public utility jeepneys at any one setting. So that's why we're encouraging to form themselves into cooperatives or groups or corporations instead of just being a single player, because really it will be very difficult for you.
So you're starting the project, or you have started the project already?
Yes, as a matter of fact, many of our clients here have already formed into cooperatives,
So,
and they are also applying for these jeepney routes.
how about so that's for the modernization program.
That's right, yes.
Aside from that, meron pa rin po kayong mga project for the subsidy that being extended for the operator, operator or the franchisor natin, yung ating 5,000 pesos subsidy of the government. First, what is the purpose of this program?
Well, good that you mentioned that. No? This is very timely now because we are already very concerned about the some of the adverse effects of the train law, the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion,
Yes.
and which has unfortunately affected the public transport industry because also of the rise in fuel prices, no? Which is of course beyond the control of government. No? But because of these factors, there is clearly a need to reach out and be able to help our PUJ drivers and operators. And so therefore, our government under President Rodrigo Duterte thought of making this Pantawid Pasada program, which actually gives fuel assistance to our existing public utility vehicle operators and drivers. Initially for this year, we're giving out in a form of an ATM to be given out by Land Bank of the Philippines, an initial 5,000 pesos for each unit ng mga operator at driver natin. And for next year, 2019, we have also allotted 20,000 pesos for each of these PPP cards. No? That's why a lot of our drivers and operators have come here and already claimed their cards, are very happy with this. Because sabi nila, this will really go a long way in assisting them in their livelihoods. Especially now that, as you see, the prices of fuel products are increasing. And so therefore, this will be of great help to all of them.
And of course, all our operators are concerned. Are they qualified to have that credit, or ano po yung mga specifically requirements natin sa kanila, or ano po yung kailangan nilang documents in order for them to process those grants?
Well, it's very simple lang naman po. If they are active operators and they are in our list, all they have to do is approach us, and number one, they have to fill up a deed of undertaking, which can only take a minute or two to fill up, no? And then they should also bring with them one by one ID photo, and then OR and CR of the vehicles. And finally, you also have to have what you call this? The deed of undertaking, the ORCR, the photo, and the ID, the government ID, which is original, as well as a copy of that ID, a photocopy.
So, government IDs, any government IDs?
Yes, any government ID will do, even a company ID will do, for as long as this will pass through the standards of our office, and once approved, then you can go to land bank and claim your ATM.
Okay. How long it take for us, like those operators, to get or to process their application? It takes how many? Is it hours or even days?
Well, it's only a matter of minutes.
Okay.
The actual processing itself, from step 1 to step 4. So it's not that difficult. Except that, of course, after we process the application,
We have to wait for
well, anyway, LTFRB office is quite near the land bank branch. That's
Yes.
only less than 100 meters away. You just have to walk over there, get your card, and then immediately after that, you can activate the card by using the ATM machine of the Land Bank of the Philippines.
So, yung pong mga ATM na yan is bound with a balance of, or meron na siya naman na 5,000 outright, or they have to wait for the 5,000 to process pa muna?
Well, it's there already. It's as good as cash, no? Which actually brings me to the next point. We are warning all the drivers and the operators not to use the cash by withdrawing it and buying something else. No? The only intention of that card is for you to use it when loading up gas in the authorized gasoline stations. You bring the card, and since it is plate number specific, you also bring the vehicle whose plate number is reflected in the card. And then i-debit na lang yung fuel mo.
So, pag nagpunta sila sa ATM machine, hindi nila ma-withdraw?
Mag-withdraw nila.
Okay.
Kaya nga the temptation is there. So, we want to warn them not to do that. Why? Because automatically, if they violate that basic provision of the law, then automatically they will be disqualified from receiving future similar fuel assistance. And what is in it for next year?
Yes.
That's 20,000 for next year.
Yes.
So if they waste this 5,000 by withdrawing even just 100 pesos out of that 5,000, they will lose their right to avail of the 20,000 assistance next year.
So basically, where we have like, dahil nga closely monitored with meron siyang detailed with the card.
That's
Pag
right.
withdraw siya, definitely, alam na natin na nag-violate siya.
Yes.
So definitely, hindi na siya makakakuha the next privilege.
Correct. Land Bank is very
Paano po
vigilant on
nare-receive
that.
yan? Once lang, as soon as ma-receive yung card, or meron pong regular na nare-receive pa sila?
Well, that's only one time for this year. That's 5,000. But then, of course, they can withdraw their fuel assistance from the authorized gasoline dealers maski ilang beses. Pwede, hindi naman siguro at one time kasi full tank is less than 5,000. But they can go there as many times as they want. Pwede naman.
Idinagdag pa rin ni Director Ahmed kung saan at paano nila na-disseminate ang mga announcement and information ng kanilang mga gawain.
Well, first of all, I'm very glad that media organizations such as yourselves come to us and help us in disseminating the information to the public and to our stakeholders in particular. No? But aside from that, yes, you're right. We attend the fora and dialogues when we are invited by these transport groups and organizations. And we also welcome them here anytime in the office, as you very well know. And I think you've observed as you were sitting there, people just come in and walk in for any concerns that they want to take with us. Yes. So we're very open to the public and the media as well as our stakeholders. And finally, of course, there is social media. We also communicate with them through the different social media platforms.
Tinanong ko din kung paano nila ina-address ang mga challenges and problem na kinaharap nila sa ating mga local communities.
Well, certainly yes. we just finished most of the management courses participated in by representatives of local government units. We gave them seminars on local public transport route planning. What is the local public transport route plan? That is the LPTRP. It is simply the plan that LGUs will make in order to, number one, rationalize the routes in the respective areas, and number two, recommend also what kind of public utility vehicles and how many should be open within the respective territories. So by next year, actually, we will have LGUs proposing already na itong mga lumang ruta kasi natin, itong mga patterns na mga ruta ito, were basically designed many years ago.
Yes,
And if you have seen the growth and development of LGUs have altered so much that right now, there are routes which do not anymore seem to be viable because there are no people and enough passengers there anymore. Whereas, there are also new areas which are considered as growth areas. May bagong mga malls na doon, may mga paaralan, may mga pabrika and offices. So therefore, there is really a need to rationalize all these so that we'll be able to answer effectively yung demand ng passenger traffic. And secondly, while addressing that concern, we should also be able to immediately identify kung anong klase na ba ang mga sasakyan na dapat nasa kalsada natin. So, for instance, the Department of Transportation and LTFRB are planning that etong mga national highways natin, in order to also decongest them and maximize their usage, should be primarily catering only to buses and minibuses.
Okay.
While the PUJs, of course, it is not true that we are phasing them out because they will still be here, being the backbone of public industry in the country. But now they will be relegated to the secondary routes or the mga local roads. And then the smaller ones, of course, you know, the tricycle and all that, because, they are here to stay. They will be still regulated by the local government, but they will only be made to travel in the tertiary routes. So these are some of the schemes that basically we'll be adopting in order to address growth and yung mga traffic congestion.
The question is, are we ready for that changes in our, not only in our community or in the region as well?
Well, you know, to me kasi it's simultaneous eh. While we introduce these things, gradually we also open up the minds of people into accepting them. Because if we wait until such time na the people will be able to discern and accept this before we actually introduce the change, it will never come because they will never appreciate it until it is already there. So, para yung sa, parang sa, for instance, yung mga countries na nag-host ng Olympics, sometimes sinasabi, is China ready? You know, when China finally was adjudged to be the host of the Beijing Olympics, it was only then that they started to shape up and build the infrastructure for the Olympics. Just for that. Otherwise, if they were not declared to be qualified and to be the host of that Olympics, they would not have been able to come up with such infrastructure as well. So that's simultaneous.
Precisely. So if that's our plan, how many years from now that we're gonna see all these buses, minibuses on the road, the main road, and of course the not really this vehicle that are allotted for just inside the community. So how many years are we eyeing for this?
Well, right now we're starting already with the missionary routes. The next year, it's going to be a bit faster because of the approval of the LPTRPs of the respective LGUs. That's 2019. And then by 2020, we will see the last of the Mohicans, I mean the last of the public utility vehicles of the old specification. So I'd say about in 4 years' time or 5 years' time, we'll be fully. We shall have already fully implemented the PUBMP.
So are we saying 4 or 5 years time our roads or main roads ready for this vehicle?
Yes, yes, they will because among others, for instance, if we talk of the national highway, we're now thinking more of the high capacity transportation vehicles instead of the smaller ones. So, for instance, instead of having 20 jeepneys occupying the road at any given time, ilang bus na lang ba ang pwede niyan? No? So, if you have
Ilan po ba yung capacity ng isang vehicle na pinipose mo?
this 20 plus.
20 plus.
20
So
to
it's
30
like a
plus.
minibus or
Yes.
cluster.
Yes, and in fact, kasi kung dito lang naman sa urban area, for instance, we allow a standing room. So, kasi that is under the presumption that well, the people, the passengers will not be standing for 5 hours.
Yes,
Kasi
yes,
malalapit
lapit
lang
lang
naman,
naman.
tsaka syudad lang naman. So, they can actually last for 15 to 20 minutes just standing up.
Last question. How much are kasi we're thinking why these people are not accepting the concept of having this modernization. So how much are they going to allot, spend for one vehicle or the loan that being granted?
Well, yung loan naman kasi is up to the loaning banks. Primarily in the Philippines, we have two government banks that are deeply into the program, namely the Land Bank of the Philippines and the Development Bank of the Philippines. There are also other private banks which are doing this, so they also have their own terms and conditions. But insofar as what I know now is that these modern jeeps will have costs ranging from 1.4 to 1.8 million.
How many terms that we are extending? The longer one.
Well,
Of course.
it's really up to the bank.
Yes.
So,
But we don't have yet the approximate on how many years are they going for. They are allowed to pay for that particular.
well, I'm not privy to those decisions.
Okay. So this is the right time for you to discuss or to disseminate information to our televiewers that these are the requirements in order for you to have this grants or this project or this available resources that the government is extending.
Yes, sa lahat po ng mga nanonood natin na kababayan, ng mga existing PUJ operators at drivers, inaanyayahan po kayo ng gobyerno na sana po ay mag-organize tayo into cooperatives and corporations para po naman na pwede tayong mabigyan ng mga pautang ng government banks. Nang sa gayon ay meron po tayong pondo at kapital para po makapagsimula sa bagong industriya ng jeepney ng Pilipinas. At ito po yung Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program. Sa pamamagitan po ng mga cooperative at mga korporasyon ay mas lalong mapadali ang inyong pagsali sa PUBNP. Hi, I'm urging everyone to please watch Kabalen Buhay program on UBC Channel 12.
Abangan sa pagbabalik po ng Kabalen, Mabuhay Ka!